Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a deeply profound fable that tackles honestly two of the absolute most complex things we deal with as humans, vanity and the relentless passage of time. We're going to break down this really fascinating narrative about an ant and a group of pretty arrogant animals. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end of this, you are going to have a completely new perspective on what we actually value in ourselves and, well, in others too.
But before we introduce our main character, I want you to really think about something for a second. Have you ever felt jealous of someone else's natural talents or physical beauty? Right? It's totally okay to admit it. It is a deeply human emotion. We look at someone who just seems to glide through life effortlessly, who has that one trait we lack, and we feel that sudden pang of insecurity. That exact emotion, that feeling, is the engine that drives the entire story we're unpacking today.
Section 1. The Ant's Jealousy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our story centers around a highly intelligent yet very grounded ant. Now, as this ant grew older, she developed this burning, almost obsessive jealousy toward the other animals in the jungle. Even with all her wisdom, she let comparison completely steal her joy. Because, she was slow, she was bound to the earth. It took her forever just to travel from one tree to another, and meanwhile, she's sharing her home with these incredibly flashy animals. There was a butterfly that could fly effortlessly, just stunning to look at. There was a peacock that absolutely everyone loved for its magnificent feathers and enchanting voice, and a squirrel zipping around with lightning-fast speed. The ant looked at her own limitations, looked at their spectacular abilities, and just felt entirely inadequate.
Which brings us to Section 2, the animals' show-off. You see, it wasn't just in the ant's head. The other animals actually noticed her insecurity. And instead of being humble about their gifts, they cruelly decided to flaunt them, literally just to make her feel worse. Like, whenever the ant crossed paths with the peacock wouldn't just walk by. No, it would intentionally dance and fan out its beautiful feathers right in her face, practically demanding admiration. When the squirrel saw the ant struggling to climb, it would deliberately zoom rapidly between the trees, lightning speed, just to highlight how slow the ant was. And the butterfly? It would purposefully flutter its gorgeous wings right in front of the ant's eyes, showing off this freedom of flight the poor ant could never achieve. It was just targeted, intentional arrogance.
But, as we all know, pride always precedes a fall. Section 3. Nature's Wrath.
Now, what's really interesting here is how, without any warning whatsoever, the power dynamics completely flipped. Before the storm, arrogance and vanity absolutely ruled the jungle. Those flashy animals were at the very top of the hierarchy. But then, out of nowhere, a massive tsunami and a fierce rainstorm hit the ecosystem. In an instant, nature acted as the ultimate unforgiving equalizer. The storm didn't care how fast anyone was, or how pretty their wings were, which led directly into this phase of total destruction and vulnerability. That arrogant hierarchy completely wiped out in a matter of hours.
So, while this terrifying storm raged above ground, what happened to our grounded ant? Well, she simply retreated to her underground colony. Because she was a creature of the earth, the exact trait she deeply resented, she remained perfectly insulated from the devastating tsunami. When the waters finally receded, she emerged entirely unharmed. Literally, her lack of flashy abilities, the very thing she was so insecure about, was actually her greatest salvation. Her humble existence kept her perfectly safe.
Section 4. After the storm.
When the ant finally crawled out from the earth, she looked out over a scene of absolute devastation. And the irony here is just incredibly powerful. The peacock's prized feathers, completely ruined by heavy mud and water. They were wilted, broken, and stripped of all their glory. The lightning-fast squirrel found its beloved trees violently uprooted, and it was just left shivering on the ground, completely unable to move. And that butterfly that loved to flaunt its graceful flight? The sheer weight of the heavy rain had actually snapped one of its wings, grounding it permanently. Every single trait they boasted about was systematically dismantled by nature.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds time and pride.
Up until now, we've basically been looking at a fable. But honestly, this story is a mirror held directly up to us. And this brilliantly illustrates a much deeper point. The storm in the story represents something far more universal that every single one of us has to face. The source material shares this incredibly powerful metaphor. The hand that looked like this yesterday has become like this today. Just imagine a young, strong, perfectly smooth hand. Now fast forward, and that exact same hand is wrinkled, frail, and weathered. The storm that hit that jungle, it's a metaphor for the natural, unavoidable reality of physical aging.
We can think of this as the equalizer of time. Much like the tsunami stripped the peacock of its feathers and the squirrel of its speed, time is this natural, unavoidable process that will eventually strip away all of our temporary physical beauty and superficial abilities. I mean, the agility you have at 20 is absolutely not the agility you're going to have at 80. The physical beauty that society prizes so highly, it fades. If our entire self-worth or our pride is tied up in these temporary traits, we are setting ourselves up for a profound collapse.
So, the crucial point is captured perfectly right here in the source material. A fool makes others jealous with their beauty or ability, but a bigger fool is the one who gets jealous seeing them. That is huge. It is foolish to flaunt temporary gifts that time will inevitably take away. But, it's an even greater tragedy to waste your life feeling inadequate, burning with jealousy over someone else's fleeting traits, and completely missing the value of your own unique path and stability.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question to really reflect on. What temporary traits are you holding on to way too tightly, and whose superficial abilities are you allowing to make you feel inferior? Remember the ant. The things you think make you ordinary might just be the very things that give you a solid foundation when the storms of life hit. Stop comparing your journey to others, let go of the pride, and recognize the immense value in your own enduring strength.